press record. Dominic, you are in a holistic systems cooperative Tuesday community meeting. And so, yeah, and holistic, that's part of what we do, is define, who we are. But at this point, holistic systems, is a, I'm thinking of it lately as like a value bank, so it's a resource sharing and value bank where, at this point, primarily for entrepreneurs, independent contractors, and freelancers, to be able to come together and de-silo from our separate entities and enterprises and share value with each other, kind of make deposits into that value bank, in that shared bank account, and then be able to make withdrawals that are more than what we deposited, because we have that synergy. So I just wanted to sort of share that that's kind of where you find yourself. And so we're at the community meeting today, and I'll put in the meeting notes in the chat. And I think we can, what do people think as far as, this is something we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, as far as like checking in. Do we want to have just kind of brief check-ins for the group? Or do we want to try that thing where, we go off in pairs and check in? Does anybody here? I'm going to make a poll.
Hey, I'm electioneering for breakout rooms. Wouldn't it be cool if we could just like get into a random breakout room with somebody and just like chat with them for 2 minutes and then come back and then say, oh yeah, this is what's going on. But I mean, the other way is probably fine too.
I think they're both fine, but I'm going to make a poll because why not?
I'm going to ask Basil a question down over there. Basil, you sent me the instructions about the download and the stuff to do. I didn't have the time to do that.
That's fine. We'll do that later. We'll do that later.
I'll just be present. That's okay.
Yeah, this is a key part of the of our DAO expansion. So yeah. I wanted you to sort of meet more of the team, and I can debrief you later.
I don't.
Yeah. I think Basil's probably referring to the Hypha wallet and all of that. So, and we'll probably be talking about that later on in the meeting. We've just all right. So right now we've got breakout rooms for how to check in today is leading 5 to 2. So I think given the amount of people here, I think we have a winner. But before we do that, I do want to just mention and catch up folks who weren't here, last week. But we've been, talking about running these meetings, in a more deliberate way. In this way, we've talked about before, this kind of 3 heartbeat style. So the structure. So the first 40 minutes is like the human heartbeat. Where we're sort of doing more sense making. We're talking, we're checking in, talking about, why we're here, the group as a whole. And then the second heartbeat, 40 minutes is structural. So more like, okay, the structure, the governance, how are we setting things up? And then the last 40 minutes is the operational heartbeat. Okay, what are we doing? Who's doing what, all that. So I just wanted to bring that in. Let's see. Do we want to take, 8 minutes total? That's four for each person. So how about we take 8 minutes total? And that means that I need to, I need to create breakout rooms, which is fine. We can do that really quick. I'm just gonna.
I'm so happy I'm here. I don't know what it is.
Oh, that's a great feeling. Like unaccounted for happiness that just shows up. That's brilliant.
That's awesome. All right, here's just to be, because that's in the room. Thank you for bringing that in, Dominic. I think let me see. So, or I'm just gonna. How about we choose our own breakout rooms?
No, don't do that to me.
No. All right. Well, I'll sign you.
Like,
all right. So
there could be a way to just randomly put everybody in, but you could also just open up, what would it be?
Okay, no, that was clearly that was not a good idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign manually the breakout rooms.
Oh, cool.
So I'll just do that. I'm doing that right now, and without much thought behind it.
Perfect. Just clicking buttons.
Yeah, the less thought here, the better. Beautiful. Okay, your rooms are open.
All right, here we go.
That was really funny.
Now,
Thanks for playing, everybody.
see y'all in 8 minutes or so.
Check in.
There. And I was like, it felt like a surprise party. Like, it's like, I was like, it just hit me with a huge wave of like joy.
Oh, good.
Oh, so is this the three of us doing the breakout?
It's in pairs. It's in pairs, but I'm like the ninth person. So I
Yeah.
thought just for a few minutes I'd jump in here just on a fly on the wall. I'd love for you two to just do the breakouts, but here I'm just a fly on the wall and part of it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Yeah,
so real quick, yeah, Dominic reached out to me about stuff, and we're fully aligned. But he has a lot of deep insights on what we're trying to do with building our tech stacks and like a decentralized media, agency for good and all of that stuff. And so I was just about to have a meeting with him to onboard him into D Studio, but I hadn't been on in a minute since beta started a couple weeks ago, and I just checked something and there was like a major bug. So I reached out to Alex Prate and I was like, so they're fixing that. But I sent him a Seeds account login so he could get into Seeds, and then a Hive, and then he can get the Hive wallet. But I'll help him with all that later.
yeah.
But it would be good for him to have some insight into what we're doing here at HSC. So if you can like give him a quick elevator pitch debrief there, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I did. What I shared was the very quick, brief elevator pitch, and that's so essentially we're, it's really creating a different model for how we can work together. It's really creating a different model of working in a collaborative way rather than a competitive way. And so hopefully this is a model, right, that can be used anywhere. And I know that we're not the only ones trying this out. But for now, we're sort of niching into, right, like into the economic realm and the business realm. So entrepreneurs, freelancers, independent contractors, so a way that we can, share different kinds of value, right? So we can help, each other. Somebody can help someone build a website. Someone can coach them on, development. Someone can share a template. Someone can, all that. Hi, Kim.
Oh, hey.
And and the idea is that if we can then create and we want to, experiment with how we can actually facilitate that value exchange. One way we're talking about doing that, right, is in this DAO mechanism, utilizing blockchain and these tools. And we feel like if we can get like a group together that's large enough, then in addition to like professional, and business development and networking, we can start, launching out teams, rather than just each individually, offering our services out, launching out teams. So that's holistic systems in a nutshell.
So it's holistic systems. What is the C?
Oh, cooperative.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me do
Yeah.
a brief just introduction to like me in this, unless you want to hop somewhere else, but I think it's good, Rob, for us to take a moment because I'm like totally new.
I'd love to hear about you, please.
building like an organization, which is identified with as New World X, even though it's called New World Media. That's just because, like, for me, there are two things that are central to what I'm focused on, which is research and media production, specifically transdisciplinary research and media production. And so they go together because it's like, there's a different type of research, which is transdisciplinary in essence, which is an entire approach to how do you do research that like I have fallen in love with, and I feel so limited by the current options I'm offered by academic or NGO institutes in the way in which they approach economics, science, so many different fields. Like for me, something, and this has a lot to do with just like the modern paradigm of science. But for me, so much of research is moral and aesthetic. It's like when we talk about essential philosophy, it's not just epistemology and ontology, but it's also morals and aesthetics. I see so often that those are taken away from the way in which we do research and almost making it like Protestant in a very cold and desiccated sense. And so like for me, I care a lot about indigenous knowledge and the ancestral future. And so what you see in the methods of science and art in indigenous knowledge or traditional knowledge is that for them as well, it's a totally interconnected system of how do you do research. So that's New World Institute is creating teams that ask and answer very relevant and fascinating research thematics, where you don't just give them a question and they answer it, but they also find what is the right question to be asked. So it's really a thematic more than just like, oh, this is what we're studying. So I'm working on 3 of those. One is, what is the transdisciplinary framework? The ancestral future renaissance, which is really what is the potency of integrating indigenous knowledge in our global modern society. And then third is new economic thinking, which is really, there's so many questions about agroecology, about DAO structures, about, just ecological economics. It's like, but I don't feel that there's a very crystallized and beautiful message for people who feel very scared and confused. So bringing together those 9 vanguardist people who are comfortable sort of shaking the shackles of their academic chamber and answering these questions in a direct way that is bold, honest, and profound. And then that's encapsulated in a beautiful message, which is where the media side comes in. And so what's happened for me since I began this project is I've realized that the New World Institute, New World Media, New World X, we represent and we're inside of a very large network of a lot of incredible organizations. There's a whole movement, and there's the organization called GaiaNet, which has literally just been mapping the whole movement. It's like, it couldn't be have made any easier. And there are so many media organizations that care about the new world. And so I've kind of come to this point of like, wait, why do I have to build new world media when actually there's a lot of overlapping synergies and initiatives and endeavors that actually could come together more, and I think have more gravity, more potency, etc. So that's very brief, like what brought me here. This brought me to Basil. I found him. I've been in a large journey of just lead generation and networking, finding all of the nodes in this new world network, and Basil popped up as one of those. So that just brought me into him out of the blue. I'm currently in Brazil, near to Rio de Janeiro. We have a thunderstorm going on. That's, I think the breakout room is about to close, but that's the general introduction.
Yeah, thank you, Dominic. Welcome. That's amazing, right? There's so much, going on as far as like connecting and mapping, right? And I'm familiar in GaiaNet as well, and so. I love that you came and joined us, and and we can certainly talk more, at more length around that, and what you're doing, right, and how we can connect all these, and so.
And I clicked the button. Sorry.
Okay, it's okay.
I was like, oh, a button.
Oh.
Click.
Hello, hello everyone. How was that for folks?
I'm looking for the heart emoji.
Yeah. All right.
There it
Heart
is.
emoji. Yeah, it was great on our end, and yeah, thank you. So right, so I just want to share. Dominic is here from from Brazil. So just to give a geolocation there. Oh, that's actually, and that's two people from Brazil, Zoe as well.
That's cool.
And I think, you know, from there, it feels appropriate to just ask if there's anything, you know, that anybody feels that they you know, are moved to share or feel the need to share with the group before we kind of move on. You know, want to make sure that that space is open.
Just a big happy Halloween.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Happy Halloween. Yeah. Beautiful.
That shifting of the season and the light and looking forward to like what comes next in the seasonal, the thing. That's what Pharrell and I talked about.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to pop the meeting notes in the chat, and you know, I dropped in right kind of things that we've been talking about the last, you know, the last few weeks, and I guess I think I'd like to open it. I'm Brett. I have a lot of thoughts as far as like the structural heartbeat and operational, but maybe, you know, I can open it up. The one thing that I'd sort of started to wonder with myself, right? Because I'm like, oh, there's so much we can be doing. I don't know, is connecting it back in on like, oh, what do I want out of HSC? Like, why am I here? So that's one thing I was thinking about. Other than that, I'd love to just open up the space, you know, for this part of the meeting. Anyone has anything to bring in?
I'd like to share. I popped a mint in my mouth, so I'm like, I'm waiting. It's interesting being here, you know, because I sense a lot of mutual care and intention. It's like what's holding so much of this presence, and obviously, you know, everyone's got their projects, everyone's working on what they're doing, and there's you know, a sense of that individuality, but then there's just so much of this yearning for mutual care. It's funny because I co-founded one of these, but it's like for art. And so it's me and two other people, and it's called the Dream Launcher. And it's all about an iterative system of creating art and productions. And what we found is that within it, so there's so much of like this, wait, we also just want to support each other so emotionally. There's like there's so much beyond the art that's also like, you know, how are you? How is everything? Like what's happening beyond the work, etc. And I sense, you know, a similar level of care there. And maybe the Dream Launcher somehow connects in with this. So definitely a lot of like, yeah, it's a very interesting moment, and I feel like the digital, just like spacelessness creates so many new connections that we couldn't have expected. Sorry, there's a thunderstorm outside, so rainy Brazilian thunderstorm. Yeah, that's all I wanted to mention. So
Thank you. Thanks, Dominic. Yeah, I really feel and appreciate that energy as well. That seems like kind of across the board. It's beautiful to name it.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned sometime last week too about having one meeting like once a month or sometime in the moon cycle to exhibit art or to be an experience of art. So it's funny that you show up the next meeting
every 2 weeks on the new moon and the full moon. I'm not kidding. That's our cycle. Every 2 weeks, new moon, full moon. Yeah.
When you have your meetings?
Yeah, that's when we do it. And it's so beautiful to be on that creative journey with other people, because like the difference in what you're producing and how you're focusing is very palpable. So I don't know, Natalie, funny you say that.
Yeah. I would love to, and I can envision like showing up as HSC, like as like a, you know, like, oh right, this is that we do this as a community, you know, kind of in like group effort, so that we sort of support like that mutual support. I think that's a so what I'm looking for at HSC is teammates, you know, like fun collaborative things to do together, you know. You know, that I can like take part in. Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Shared experience. Yeah. So please, Dominic, do share the details and the whatnots. That'd be cool.
Oh, what of the Dream Launcher?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look it up. It's dreamlauncher.xyz. And there's I mean, it's three of us right now, and we every 2 weeks we, like, on the lunar cycle, we put up new work, and so then we discuss and we give each other feedback, and it creates this accountability, which is really great. I'm here because of a different matter. Like, I'm here working on New World X with Basil, but like I don't know, it's funny to sense that there is like this, just, it's a similar sensation being here of like what those overlaps are. So yeah, if you're a creator, if you're an artist, etc., like you totally like get in touch with us. There's a submission portal.
Sounds great.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
I write, and then my peers, they're musicians.
And
Yeah,
maybe photographers. Is this the same one? Is that the
Totally.
right one?
totally.
Pandora's box for content.
Photographers too. Yeah. So that's like my passion is really I mean, not even passion, it's like spiritual philosophy for me has become like uh the joy and journey, and like what I feel called to contribute. I could really go into a whole spiel about this, but I don't, like, this is your meeting. I like fell in. But that's a whole dialogue. Yeah. Was that a good Newman? Like, if you're a photographer, like, join,
Yeah.
and we would love that, because like I said, it's music and writing, but it's all forms of art, all modalities. We, like, at a point, if we had enough contributors, we want to make an integration so that every time someone posts to the Dream Launcher, it automatically posts out to our media channels. And you can even build in like an NFT mintery to that. It's just like, we're not too worried about that, because it's an art, it's like art first. There's no
Yeah.
expectations of what it becomes.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I also want to bring in the question, right, of how can, okay, so here's, here are two groups. How can we, collaborate with each other? And, have that as a question. Is anybody interested in like that as a prompt, if anyone is interested or has thoughts about like what you want out of Holistic Systems Cooperative? That, I don't know, that to me feels like an interesting question right now. It doesn't have to for anybody else though. Anybody?
Well, one thing is like meeting incredible people and projects, and then really a framework for contributing to those projects. So I don't know what you all think about this, but I kind of feel like if I was at the next at the new moon, we just had the full moon. At the next new moon, I like took it as like a little challenge to create a photograph to post onto Dream Launcher that that I could add that as a contribution in HSC. It's like, oh, this is an offering, or this is an offering. I'll take a photo. Would that be how it would work? Maybe.
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 Yeah, I think that's something, yeah, that I'd like to
Oh,
definitely
if-
like
if-
to talk about today, you know? Okay, like bring in some clear examples. How would it work? You know, how can we start, as you said last week, Newman, and I stole from you, how can we start running water through the pipes?
I like that you take it that way. Yeah, exactly. Actually, you know, this week, and this is probably an operational, but I really thought about Barunga's Mr. Crispus's website. I was like, that is something that I want from HSC, because while I can't like take on the big ass project of a website, but I would love to like spend some time building a website for somebody that's in my community that I know and trust and have reputation with. Like that's what I want from HSC, so that I don't have to take on like a huge thing. Like I don't have to contact him and find a client and then be responsible completely for the client, and then sort of feel alone that I'm like having to like shoulder it all myself. Where it'd be great if it's just like, oh yeah, we know that you know, at these times we can come and contribute. Like I want HSC to facilitate my contribution.
It just clicked for me what you all are doing. I understand much more clearly. It's like a relationship. It's a network of relationship and exchange, which is like it has like a professional remunerative aspect to it, but it's very much so like rhizomatic support and growth at its center.
Now help us understand like that the rhizomatic nature of it, because I think that's at the key. You know, that's like why we're different than other models. Would you agree, Rob?
I would. I'm not actually sure what rhizomatic means, so I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, it's like, right, it's very, very essential to like postmodern philosophy, particularly Gilles Deleuze, who he draws the distinction that modern society follows a hierarchical structure, arborescent, like the way in which a tree forms hierarchies in its root networks. A rhizome grows in all directions, so it's more mycorrhizal, it's more fungal, it's more like weeds even. So that's like really key to their notion of like what does civilization need, and it's like less of the hierarchies of control, which is just a dominant theme of postmodern philosophy. And so they propose in a biological sense rhizome rather than arborescence.
Got it. Rhizome. Yeah.
R-H-I-Z-O-M-E. Rhizome.
H-I-Z-Z-O-M-E. Yeah, thank you. You know what? I think that's really, I mean, that's a theme that, you know, from the beginning and with everybody, I think that we touch on, you know, which is this, you know, especially as far as organizational structure, you know, is this, is more operating as an organism than an organization, or operating as an organismic, you know, like a fractal organization. And that's, yeah. And I think that's, you know, that the decentralized, you know, nature of it that we're trying to, you know, figure out how to facilitate. Yeah, so I think that's a big aspect of it. And then, right, you know, and then this idea of like, how do we, right, how are we facilitating each other's contributions? You know, so we each, and, you know, and opening up value. I think I said this earlier, but there was like this idea that I was working on with somebody, and this idea popped in, you know, about like a value bank. And that was one way to, I'll probably write an email on it for next week or something. But, you know, I really like that way of thinking about it, right? Because we know what a money bank is, and we know what a time bank is, right? There's time banking, but this is more like a value bank. You know, so there's so many different types of value, and, you know, and like we're all putting in deposits into that bank, you know, and it's, you know, it's, I like the ideas that we each do have our own accounts, but it's also one big shared account, you know, and if you pile everything in there, you pile all those deposits together, you're going to earn, you know, interest, so that way everyone, we're pulling out, withdrawing from that value bank. It's more than you put in.
There's two people which need to know about this organization. I don't, maybe they already do. Has Dan Gorder met you all? You know Dan?
I know Dan. Yeah, Dan, I don't think has met any of the other folks, but Dan, Dan
Yeah.
and Alexander and Bart from GaiaNet.
Which is because, like, what you're doing is like they want to connect that type of contribution to a massive network. So it'd be like planting like a fungi in a forest. Very helpful. Then there's also Farananda Ibada from the Commons Engine, who she is hyper interested in educating. I mean, like, currency design is a big thing, but like teaching communities how to create their own currencies and flourish with them. She would be super interested in like the model you have all been co-creating. So I'll take a note. I'll mention to her next time I see her. But like, she would be actually, Basil, that's something with the links you sent me about the currencies you're affiliated with or working with. Like, I also want to connect you with Fernanda just because she's like, that's like her bread and butter. I don't know if you know her or the Commons Engine.
Well, Justin Joseph, who's here, he's part of the Seeds working group, the collaboratory, trying to figure out this stuff. It's a long process, but yeah, I mean, that's what Seeds was originally founded for, is to be that frictionless, feeless, global token that allows for a bunch of community tokens to then have like that trade mechanism between. But yeah, we need more insights, more efforts on turning that into a reality. Justin, I don't know if you have anything to say on that, but yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah, Justin, any thoughts on that, or or what brought you to the meeting today, or why are you interested? What would you want out of HSC if it was yours, which it is? It's all ours. Maybe Justin's. Oh, there.
Yeah, I don't know what I came today because I care about this group, but I felt like a sense of wanting just to check in and see how things are going along. To what Basil was just kind of touching on, I think Seeds is kind of it's like a place of like so much potential, and it has a really strong attractor. Like, it just attracts people, and they're usually pretty skilled and pretty intelligent and very mission focused and values driven. They want and oftentimes give a lot of time and energy to the work. And it has kind of continuously had a challenge of being able to receive that work and effort in a way that helps people both feel valued in that, I guess, at some level, but also is able to create like a rewards or remuneration system or a value exchange system that allows for that kind of to match its new economic paradigm it's bringing, right? So it's kind of like an old way of working, or kind of stuck in between this like new vision for a new economic system, and also kind of not yet having built the right bridge to allow for work to happen in new ways. I'm not saying that super clearly, but that's kind of what I would.
Oh, you said it perfectly.
And what one thing again, kind of like in the, I like Dominic, your energy is great, man. So kind of feeling what you were bringing with the rhizomatic, and also kind of, again, like kind of with what Basil is bringing as like the possibility for what Seeds is. I do think that there's something to explore there, because there is like a digital infrastructure that's kind of sitting on the table, as well as like really great branding and marketing and name. There's already tokens developed that are just sitting and waiting to be used. So it's kind of this really resource rich environment, but it doesn't have the human capital, the human resourcing to really be able to take full advantage of all that's there. And so not to put pressure on this thing to be that, but if you're looking at different ecosystems where, HSC could step into and explore or implement or test and experiment, I do see that ecosystem is a good one among others.
Just one point on this, because we are at the beginning, and I've been part of this Seeds Haifa experiment, since whenever, 2020, I guess. For me, I was really guarding seeds to not become a currency, to not become money, to not become that mindset that would then like trigger greed in people. And so I was quite like trying to hold it back from like growing too fast, because of this. But yeah, like Justin says, like now, we have that digital infrastructure to be able to send seeds. That's easy. So it's if we can start to practice, the way I see it is it allows us to play in this pure intention. For me, seeds is supposed to be this pure intention, and all the other tokens, the HSC tokens, the DStudio tokens, the Haifa tokens, all of the different DAO tokens that represent the value of those operational organizations or whatever, are real value-based things. But like seeds it allows us to, the way I saw it is to experiment, and that's what I used it for 2020, 21, 20, was to just use it as a mechanism to show the value that people put in. I would do like a production, and I would, we'd be paying cash on the ground, but I would be measuring that in seeds and sending seeds to the people participating to kind of keep track of that ledger of actual value expended. So it gives us this opportunity to really experiment with this, frictionless, feeless, token, before we're working with more, how do you say, liquid things like EOS and all of that. So that's how I see it, and it really does just take a more of an operationalized approach, some new blood. It's gone through its like cycles, and I think it's ready for a new group to come in and really start to sort of look at it and help it evolve, because that's what it's going to constantly need, that evolution. And then it allows all of these other DAOs that are propping up on Haifa, to be able to play with a token that doesn't. I'm looking for that safe place for us all to play, and not get lost in like tax, but just like like going through the motions of creating this ecological economic system before it's actual, like more practical.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, safe place for us all to play. Yeah, I love it. Okay, I'm gonna do something that we talked about last week. So that's the blowing of the horn to indicate that we're transitioning from the human heartbeat to the structural heartbeat. So I think I could, is there, before we jump into the structural heartbeat, Newman?
Yeah, I'm gonna check out here. This was fantastic. Thank you for doing an experiment. I loved spending time one-on-one with someone. Absolutely wonderful. I would stick around, but I want to leave so that I can come back and watch the recording. So make sure you drop all those lovely knowledge nuggets in there, little Easter eggs for me to watch later. I appreciate and love you all. Thank you so much for joining, and I can't wait to see all the water in the pipes.
Yeah. Thanks, Newman.
Adios.
Yeah. Adios.
Could I,
Yeah.
I'm curious, I wanted to hear, you know, you asked that question, why am I here? I'd love to hear from Corel too. What inspired her to show up? That would be great, because I know she represents a really interesting community. And then just to touch on the last little bit that, you know, Basil and Justin were kind of tossing back and forth. I've also heard a lot of direction being turned towards like a new narrative. So focusing on some of that, like, yeah, how to encourage and reward people from intrinsic, like deep values. And then also this concept of gamifying. I'm sure other people have heard that. There's a few branches of individuals that are focused on and you know making it's not so much making game a life, but yes, I understand bringing wonder and joy back into like the mundane of daily tasks and accomplishments. And I have had the opportunity to play some what is it, RPGs, and then there is an element to that game where it's like you go through quests, but to get to that quest, you have to accomplish certain tasks, and then you get like little glowing like boo-doo-doo-ding and noise and like sound. So you get sound, color. You maybe get like an appearance, like there's a reward that's superfluous, right? Like it does nothing to the benefit of the game. Maybe adds some traits, but there's like these tiny little rewards that come along the way, even just like, yes, you know, like I've got 3 out of 5, I got to get 2 more. And so it's just like this weird accomplished drive that is ignited in people. But so yeah, like even for myself, I've been wondering, well, how can I design, so I'm in this huddle program with Justin, so I'm like, how can I design my huddle in a way of like quests and tasks so that I've got my destination in view, but I'm also accumulating like the needed elements and tools and equipment to help carry the distance. So, I mean, there is some validity to it, but you know, and bringing light concepts to AI also, there's validity in that, but not to get lost in it, right? So that's just the little thing there. But yeah, I wanted to hear from Corel at UFHD. So.
Thanks, Natalie. I don't know what I'm going to really share, but community is a process that we've been learning about within Universal Foundation for Holistic Design. You know, there's so much to do that sometimes we all get overwhelmed about which direction to go in. So with our project, with the 80/20 project of getting the cacao, the ceremonial cacao out to the people, just has been that task, and just pulling it all back to make it more simplistic, kind of what, in a way, what Seeds is experiencing, like going through different stages. And so even the UFHD is going through a stage, but we're just holding the basics, which is bringing people together in community and continuing to connect directly with our heart, with an open heart. And so we are all still learning that piece. That one particular piece is huge. So it takes time to cultivate those relationships. And so the reason why I'm here is I'm trying to understand more about how we can come together to create this sacred economic place of sharing that fits more into the paradigm of what we're living today, or we're moving into. But there's still a lot of work to do, and I'm speaking more from the level of our shadow, like our spiritual self, to be able to show up as a more evolved human, so to speak, And so UFHD, we continually do that work, but it's still that project of the 80-20 piece, which is so going so well with where Eli is in Colombia, and bringing those cooperatives that are already growing that beautiful cacao to us so that we can then use that tool here in North America, like where we are. So it on a big global scale, it's huge. But when I narrow it down, this is a good place for me to come to just explore and open my mind to other concepts and know that, you know, we're not alone in this. There's a lot of people who want and desire the same thing. So I'm learning a lot just by being involved with different people, meeting new people. I mean, that's part of my goal for the upcoming year, is meeting people like-minded who are looking for the same things. And so, but my gifts really sit with, I bring people together in community. I love the spiritual work. That's what I do. That's my vibe. That's my thing, right? I love holding ceremony and ritual, and Natalie knows this because she's been to many. But from a more simplistic view, that's my gift. That's what I bring. That's always been the thing with the UFHD as well. It's like, I don't know. I'm not a farmer. Like, I'm not economist. I'm not any of those things. But the thing that I love to do is bring people together. So, yeah, really honored to be here with all of you, just connecting on a level, a heart space level. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, UFHD has like a core team of maybe, it fluctuates between like 4 and maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 people. Yeah. And then each one of those people are connected to more, and yeah, there's other people kind of in the background on like kind of like waiting list. Yeah. And so it's similar in HSC, how there's like a core group of people learning how to interact with each other and how can we support each other and maximize just each other's growth and our own, and then how to network with other networks, I guess is the
that's probably one of the biggest things and the most challenging. Is like, sometimes we don't even know what we really need. Right? Like, we're just kind of going with the flow right now. What spirit just puts in front of us. It's just like one foot forward and another foot forward. I know something amazing will happen as things flush out, but it hasn't happened yet. It will, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm noticing Justin has his hand raised. Thank you, Carell. Yeah, Justin.
I want to, as Carell was speaking, and I was kind of feeling this with Natalie as well, but I noticed with, like, I was thinking about the life, like, what stage of development each individual who is showing up is in, but also their organizations. Because I imagine what people need and how they're seeing what HSC can be are really dependent on just probably some like archetypal or like forms to be able to look at and follow. They go, okay, in this place, maybe this would be supportive. So I heard one thing I heard Carell say is it feels like they're stable at some level, but they have a question of what do we do from here, or how can we better serve, or what is next for us? And that's a very unique place to be. You know, I think Seeds has it's kind of in a cycle. Maybe it's kind of in like an east moment where it's kind of rebirthing, but still has a really long way to go to be able to be mature again. I know for the huddle, Huddlecraft is a mature organization, but our huddle just launched a few weeks ago, and we have about 6 months ahead of us. And so looking at how can we support the 7 people on that journey to be able to, we're kind of like moving into adolescence. We're stepping into this next explore phase. We're going to start to kind of explore and look around. So I was thinking about, just the keynote of the life cycles of organizations and individuals that are in their development, and also maybe that being a place where we could find out ways to support each other, or to begin to understand what it would look like to serve different populations of people or organizations.
Yeah, that's I appreciate that framework, to look at, right, this organization, myself, other organizations, especially with organizations. Yeah, I really like that. It also helps, it helps me to have perspective, personally, and to kind of remain chill. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And I think that I think what we're, that is a sort of a good, segue into, right, like the structural heartbeat, which segues into operational, which is like this question of what stage is HSC at? Because I know for myself, I feel like, why I'm here, what do I want out of HSC? I'm really like passionately driven to operationalize, this value exchange. Right. And so I could, come in here, I mean, you see, I have like agenda items on the meeting notes, right? So I could come in, and I really talk about, okay, how can we facilitate this? We could create roles, circles, proposals, use the HIFA tools, all of that, right? So I have, there's lots of ideas, but it's really about, and that's why I want to open it up, right? It's about like, how does the group do that? What is the group, wanting and ready for in regards to that, so I think that is, that's a question to bring in, for right now, for the structural heartbeat, because last week, we were talking about, okay, well, we can, name some topics before, and I do feel like there's some energy that's beginning, to kind of bubble in, as far as, more tangible actions. And I like I like kind of the path, that's like the leading or the current North Star or something like that is, this idea of like, okay, how can we just like start to exchange value? And so, it doesn't have to be huge. It's just like, oh, okay, I have a need, somebody has an offering, how can we start to facilitate that? Okay, we need to coordinate this, coordinate that. So yeah, I think, I think I'd like to just hear, what people's thoughts are, around like, what are the topics, for the structural heartbeat? Do we want to, does anybody feel like, oh, there's a circle I want to lead, or there's a role that I'd like to take on, or this quest, or, or talking about like, what is the structure that we're bringing in?
Well, I can only speak for myself, but I'm certainly in an explore phase. So this is the opportunity for asking questions, making mistakes, setting up interviews, trying new things. And so my structure, yeah, like I was saying, is it's setting up a task flow, being able to assess and qualify certain tasks for like efficiency. So there's like the room to flow and explore and like do things wrong, but also kind of a bit of waypoints, like checkpoints along the way. So it's something to come back to, right? But that's the process that I'm in. Go explore phase.
Yeah, I would say I'm exploring too. I need to, I'm a type of person that has to take the info and feel it, massage it, dream with it, and then come back, because I really don't know. Like, I really don't know what I'm committing to. If I'm committing to something, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So I don't know what it means, I guess. I know the concept and the intent, but I don't know what it means to move ahead. But I'm certainly open to hear. Yeah.
I'll mention some things. What I've been coming into a lot of awareness of is like everything that we are resonating here as like a vibration as a group. We are a part of a very large global movement who have become aware of the unsustainability. I don't just mean that in ecological or environmental terms. I mean that in the sense of like, it's not good and not working, and we feel that all aesthetically and practically in terms of research throughput and eco side. Like those are like the very obvious bad outcomes, but then there's also like this moral and aesthetic sensation about that's not working. And so there's this large realization, and it's been happening for a while. Like, it's not just us. We're just like the last part of like a lot of people's dedication for centuries. And like also to like add like a bit of a frame, right? It's the modern age. It's been 500 years of this game. You could extend that, but I think it's fair to sort of like encapsulate a bit. And so I've been so blown away. My organization, New World Media, which I personally call New World X, because it's becoming something different than what I expected. Like, I've immersed myself in this huge sea of people who I've just identified as being New Worlders, like, which is it's so palpable. It's like there's not like a category I can say it is that people are formally this or they're not, but it's like, no, I can sense like someone cares about these things. They're contributing in this way. They work with these organizations. They care. Like, I've been identifying them and I've been reaching out to them, and I have just been so blown away at how overflowing my cup is. Like, what I thought was like maybe missing in the world as I set out on this journey of like finding these people to work with, I'm just like, wow, it's like it's infinite. My list is ever growing. It does not stop. And so it makes me really happy because I'm like, wow, this movement is huge. And that means there's a lot of power. And I think a lot of us, that word power, like what we can do, our impact is kind of like, oh, like that's, old world. It's like, we're not out here for power. And at the same time, it's like, but we also see there's like a systematic adjustment we need to support. It's like birthing a new spiral of civilization, and like we have a role there, and there is time and space, and there's that term kairos. When is the right moment to act, right? The Greek term for like, there's windows that open, windows of opportunity. We need to be there for it. And so like what I've been coming into is where I thought New World Media is like, oh, I need to build this media organization that brings our people the right information. I'm like, wait, I don't need to build it necessarily. So much of it has already been built, if only the synergies could align. And like many independent things could kind of come into communion, which is very sensitive. We're coming out of a state of hyper independence, hyper autonomy. People want their own entrepreneurship. There's equity, there's IP connected to it. Like, that's real stuff. That's money, that's life sustenance in the current paradigm. So like, that's hypersensitive. Just merging these organizations is very strange. It doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel ecological. It's like, it's a lot of identification. And so I'm just like coming to this awareness, like dropping into this meeting today. I'm like, okay, yeah, new world vibration. Like, I can trust these people. that like I know that they care, and I know that they want to be symbiotic, and that we want to do this correctly. High degree of fidelity and trust here rather than other spaces, and I don't mean that in a mean way. Just like I have more natural trust on first contact, and so it's like I'm feeling okay. There's this massive sea of all of these people creating organizations and doing stuff, and it's like, how can we build those synergies to have big impact that we can really change? Like, I mean, there's there are big organizations that need to be making these adjustments. United Nations, World Economic Forum, the US government, I mean, corporations, individuals in their own life. It's like, that's all happening. And it's like, we out here, we've been in such a journey of deep work that it's so interesting to watch that like crystallize. It's like, we don't even know how it comes out because it's new. It's like my daughter, she's 1.5 years old, watching her speak for the first time. It's so funny. It's like, I mean, it's really cute, right? It's just, she just says like, I'm trying to teach her butterfly. She says like, blah, blah. And it's like, I've been like, imagining what is it like to not know how to say words and then you're asked to say words. It's kind of hilarious. It's like the hardest thing I've ever seen. And so I can like sense that with us too. It's like we all know so clearly the frequency and the vibration that we're in service to. Like, you really recognize, I mean, I think the most basic way to say is ecological discordance, which is both a spiritual and environmental sense, like term. Just it's so obvious. And it's like, we're not about that. And we're trying to do anything in our possibilities to enter ecological equilibrium. And so I recognize that everyone sitting here is doing their best to do that. And so for me, current moment, if I were to operationalize that, it's like, okay, New World Media doesn't need, it's not my thing. It's like, I actually, how can we, everyone that's trying to work towards that same goal, if practically to bring good sources of media to all of the people, how do we do that all together rather than on a bunch of separate Instagram accounts, a bunch of separate websites, a bunch of separate stuff, because it's just all weaker. And so I'm like, I'm just like, I'm in that process, and it's like, yeah. So that's it for me right now. I think that's fair enough. But
That's why we created Better Worlds and launched it in China and the US at the same, and the West at the same time, because ultimately we have to bring the minds together. So yeah, so like bringing in New World to be a production entity to help create content, on Better Worlds. Now we'll distribute out of that to other platforms and networks, but what I saw was necessary is that we kind of have to B-test these things. Otherwise, we're just playing the other game. We're just playing the Netflix game or the mass media game, or as it is now, the major network game, where they make all the money from the advertising because of our content, Facebook and all the rest. And we don't get anything of that. We get nothing. So I think that's stealing from us. So we just have to not complain about it, but just have to like create the B tests. That's all,
for sure. And we're gonna know if it's working, and we're gonna know if it's not working. Like it becomes very tangible and practical. It's like, how many people, like the information we're bringing, how many people is it servicing? And that's data. I mean, in the global sense, that's data. Obviously, in the actual, like if you host events, that's experiential connection. So I hear you 100%, and I'm kind of getting excited, licking my chops, like seeing all of these people and all of this stuff and all of this potency. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like, it's just waiting to happen. We're just, yeah.
Love the enthusiasm. Thank you, Dominique. I put a YouTube, it's a short video of this this group. She's like a biomimicry expert, and she's working with, like, when you were talking about like large impact, there are some projects going on where she's getting companies like Microsoft and Jacob and other like large industries to start thinking of how they can design their systems, like their buildings, their products, based more off of what we learn from nature. So that kind of reminded me of what you were saying. But it's
Nature-based
kind of
solutions. nature-based solutions and biomimicry. Just to like hammer that on the head, the woman
Mhm.
who I saw in New York at Climate Week, and then I saw her again at Bloom 23 in San Jose last week. And I recruited her hopefully to be the new host for a new show called Nature Tech in Action that we'll start to produce with the Nature Conservancy and stuff on Better Worlds. She's in Brazil right now attending a biomimicry like workshop or classes. So yeah, that's that. I'm not surprised that you brought that up anyway.
Exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dominic. Yeah, I really appreciate what you're saying. It's just like, and I've been having that experience as well, in just, feeling all of the different people, the different projects, feeling to connect more, and then in my work, right, just, waiting for that, doing like, sort of like doing what I feel like, okay, is my job. And then, surrendering the timing of it. Yeah, I have to do a lot of surrendering to the timing, because things don't always work on, in the timing that we want, sometimes it's divine timing. So with all of that, bringing in all of that, and then, where we're at with this, in the structural heartbeat for another 10 minutes, I would like to check in with Biarawanga and with Zoe and see, yeah, if you have thoughts to share with the group.
I'll go first then. I don't know if he's online yet. That was really cool to hear you speak, Dominique. Where in Brazil are you? I'm in Belo Horizonte.
Oh, legal. I'm
You-
in Teresópolis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, far.
That's
Oh, not
south.
that far comparatively. Comparatively, it's by Rio de Janeiro.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Ah,
like an hour north. Yeah, I mean
yeah.
Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Minas Gerais, they're all like they're right there.
Yeah. Yeah, a 10-hour bus ride if I take the
Yeah,
bus.
But
But
yeah,
I could be there in a day.
huge country, huge
Yeah.
country.
Are you from Brazil? I'm sorry, I'm just like
No,
interrogating you.
no. My wife is Brazilian, and we moved back here. We were living here. We were traveling a lot in like Latin America, North America, and Europe, and then we moved back here. And Teresópolis really called to us because of the climate. It's like the most temperate climate in all of Brazil, I think. Well, besides like the Amazon, which doesn't change year round.
Mm,
But so like the national soccer team have their academy here, or like their training grounds, because it's so
interesting.
like for me, I like freshness. But what we found moving here is that we literally live inside of a cloud. It's like it's like always foggy and hazy, but with lots of national parks. And it's Mata Atlântica, which is for me, Serra do Mar, Mata Atlântica is like one of the most precious biomes in the world.
Very cool. Okay. What's our biome? It's I forgot what it's called. Maybe you know what it is. It's like the savanna. What do they call it?
Cerrado.
Yeah. Cerrado up here. But yeah, it's thunderstorm over here too, just like where you are. Okay, sorry everyone. I'll just give general reflections on today's meeting, I guess. I don't know. I forgot what the prompt was.
Yeah, I just, what I mean, I think the prompt was, like, what do you, the first prompt was, what do you want out of HSC? This one is really, we're talking about like the structural heartbeat, is sort of the general prompt, which is like, how do we want to organize? How are we organizing, together? How are we coordinating together? What does that look like? So
Okay,
so I just wanted to make sure, open up and hear your voice in.
Okay, the second one is a big question, but I'll see what I can do. First question, I wrote it on the offerings and needs pages of your or our membership portal, but thank you for making it. It's beautiful. My offerings are basically social media strategy and content creation, video editing type of, or yeah, basic graphic design, that sort of stuff. And my needs are yoga or some sort of tendinitis prevention class or group, because yeah, being on the computer all day is difficult for my hands. And then I also just look forward to any and all skill shares, whether it be Final Cut Pro tips or philosophy, people talking about philosophers they're into, or photography tips to email automation, like all of it I'm ready and excited for. And I'll offer skill shares as well. And then just general community, like getting to meet all of you and hearing you speak about things that make you excited and what you're doing. I feel like it expands my awareness and understanding of the world. And that's really important to me, especially because my Portuguese sucks and I can't like just go mingle with people. My husband is Brazil. It's a very similar situation as Dominique. So yeah, just like my human interaction, a lot of it happens here. But I do have a lot of amazing family members and friends here in Brazil too, who inspire me a lot. Getting into what Dom was talking about with organizations all sort of siloed and insular all over the world, and they're all doing amazing work. And what if we could somehow come together and help each other build power, or if that word, like, you know, is too hierarchical or scary, build strength together and mutual exchange and all of that. So where was I going with this? Yeah, there are a lot of, I'm in touch with some very cool organizations here in Brazil and Korea and America, but a lot of them don't revolve around Web3, so that might be a mismatch, but maybe we could still do stuff together, you know? A lot of them are more social movements based. That's where I tend to do a lot of my work. I've probably talked about ISC, my organization already, International Strategy Center. And we just did a big event with movement builders from Taiwan, Japan, Brazil, Mexico, Congo, and Germany. Yeah, it was awesome. India, Chile, Korea, it was really awesome. So I don't know. I think bringing, like Dom said, bringing together siloed organizations, like that's just a huge first step. I love it. Love it.
There's so much overlap. It's like, it's crazy. That's what I said. My cup is, I thought it was like empty, and then I'm just like, wait, it's like this. You can't stop it. So much of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like so many of us were all on the same page, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. I know, thank goodness. Yeah. I know, yeah, it's a relief. No matter what, you know, happens or doesn't. Yeah. Right, that and right, and like Dominic was saying, you know, feeling the commitment, you know, when I come to I feel the commitment level, you know, of folks, just the understanding of what's happening and the commitment level, you know, and that vibration, and that's very heartening, you know, and helpful for me. Yeah.
No matter what happens or doesn't. Oh.
No matter what happens or doesn't, yeah. There's that surrender thing. Yeah, I can't. Turns out I can't control everything in the world. Whoops. Yeah. But thank you, Zoe, for thank you for all of that. Yeah, and for bringing in. Yeah, I hadn't seen that. You know, you popped in on in the member portal. You know, some
just did it today.
I got you. That's why I haven't seen it. Yeah, very, very cool. very cool. And we can, right? Oh, well, in 2 minutes, it's going to be our transition to the operational heartbeat.
How
So
long are these meetings? Is this 2 hours?
I mean, we meet for 2 hours. Yeah, I don't know. People keep sticking around for that long, so, so that's
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
by all
I'm
means,
loving it. Like,
anybody people can jump in and jump out. There's no, yeah, there's no requirement, but
what a great surprise party. I'm just this has been so great. I thought this was just gonna be me Basil one-on-one, which would have been awesome. Would have been great. We've got a lot of things done. But this has been such a pleasant surprise.
thank you. Thank you. Corel, yeah, you had your hand raised. Please.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how to edit the portal stuff. Like for I took everything off because I didn't know what to pick because I wanted to just get on there, but I need to edit that to make it more
Yeah.
realistic.
Yeah. Well, we could, that's one thing we could do. We could actually you could do a screen share and we could all, kind of go through the portal. And
Oh, that's a great idea. I'd like that.
yeah, and that might be a good way for all of us to talk about, okay, how do we, really the operational level, how do we want to, exchange value? So, and what a great, there's the pumpkin, the Halloween pumpkin.
I don't know if it makes a noise. Not really.
No, it
No.
does not. It's magical, I guess.
Yep, magical pumpkin.
It's magical.
What pumpkin doesn't make noise? What is going on?
That makes sense. All right, so why don't I? Where is this? Why don't I pop this in? We can, answer Corel's question. Biarwanga, I know that we still haven't heard from you, and I just want to name and acknowledge that, and that definitely get your voice in here soon. So, okay, so well, let me just kind of run folks through things a little bit really quickly. So, so right now we have this. So this is the current member directory, right? And so what we saw was happening. Is that people, are interested and they were joining and they were, filling out the, the form, but then not knowing really how to kind of get started and how to, so like taking step one, but then not, really knowing how to dig in. So what I did was on the member, on the public facing page, I just made a little bit of an adjustment to the form. Into the message afterwards, and really kind of like the onboarding process. So essentially, I added in these pieces here, the skill sets and goals and challenges, to the form. And I think, it's kind of like putting up like little gates, just to make sure that the folks who come, want to like be involved and want to participate. Because I don't know that this model works, if it's just kind of a bunch of like 500 profiles up there, but like 10 people participating. So that being number one, and then now the message that comes through is, okay, hey, the next step is for like a 20-minute onboarding meeting. So where's the member portal? So that would be the next step, is really sort of having a 20-minute meeting. And that's something, right? That's a quest or a role, is onboarding. Somebody wants to have those meetings with folks, and then just walk them through the process, and in that way kind of make sure that this person, oh, they're interested, they want to do this, right? And then we would open up the permissions and open the member portal up to that, for that person. And then in that onboarding meeting, which I think I can go through a little bit now, could talk about like what they would, how to get started. So, Corel, I'll just kind of run through that really quick, and then we can talk about it. So yeah, I mean, really the next step, there is a quick start guide. So after you filled out the form and you're in the member portal, you can always reference this quick start guide. You know, and the first thing is like finish filling out your member portal. And it has those instructions. So, you know, what you would do, Corella, is follow those instructions, but essentially you're going to come in here. And by the way, I totally get you as far as like ticking all of these off. You know, that's usually what I do. I'm like, oh, well, I'm interested in everything. So what you would do is, you know, you would come in here and you would click new member template. Now I'm going to do this. So it's already going to be up for you. And then, you know, you follow the instructions to add your picture. So you just click on the 3 dots and then click replace. You can write your bio and your contact information. You know, I think this is, you know, these are big pieces. So that way people can get to know who you are. And, you know, like if I see Zoe, if I see you know, something on the value exchange, you know, list, and it's like, oh, okay, who's that person? So then I can read more about them. And that's it as far as, you know, the member profile. It's a good idea if you remember to, like, when you leave, to lock the page. You know, here's the thing with Notion. I know I actually wrote a little bit on this, and I'll just point out this informational hub. Like, you know, we're putting more and more in here. You know, there's a lot in each of these things. You know, there's you know, answers to some questions, at least the current answers as they stand. There's an FAQ. You know, I think in one of the places I wrote something, oh yeah, for Notion. So, you know, basically I don't foresee Notion as like a long-term, the long-term tool to facilitate this. You know, so because, right, like I could actually, if I wanted, you know, given the permissions, I could go in and write in Natalie's profile and write something, you know, stupid, you know, say poopy pants or something. But, you know, I think that the idea is for now, we're just trying to like, Natalie like that. Thank you. We're just trying to, we're just trying to validate, you know, like this process, you know, kind of play and create proof of concept that, hey, this can work and we can exchange, you know, value in this way. So this is kind of there's other platforms that I think can work better, but for now, this is the starter platform. So, and then really, you know, there's the needs and offerings. I do want to say, right, you know, I'm still like, we had a conversation with Justin talking about maybe calling it like opportunities and offerings. I'm still open to that discussion. I think I've kept it at needs for now because just there's a way where I'm feeling like it makes it's easier to, like, for people off the bat to like understand what that is and make sense of it. But there are some, you know, words and you know, terminology that we can play with. So, all right, Corel. So this is meant to be easy. So basically, if you have a need or offering, you can just go and click on this form. So rather than, you know, having to understand Notion and how it works, you click on the form, new entry, click here, and then you just write it in. You find yourself, you can do a search. And you write that information in and you submit it, and then that will show up here, you know, either as a need or an offering, right? In each of these databases, you can always look, there's different views, so there's different ways to view it. So here, if I just want to like go to, I just want health and wellness support, then, you know, I can find that here, skill shares, most recent, right? Zoe just put in hers. So this is kind of like the value, the exchange hub. And then the second piece of that, right, is the contribution log. So what we're trying to do is log the, you know, actually like track the value. One thing I want to talk about and hear from folks about is, you know, this already sort of seems a little difficult and cumbersome. You know, doing it this way. I mean, I like it, but there's not, you know, it is a little bit of a challenge. So, you know, I do want to ask folks how they feel about, you know, starting to like play with and utilize the Haifa DAO platform, you know, in order to track and exchange, you know, like the actual currency, right? So there's other ways to do that. You know, there's a platform called Coordinate. You know, there's ways, but I think that, you know, the second half of this, of exchanging value, you know, the first half is, you know, the needs and offerings. What is our value? The second half is, how do we actually facilitate that value exchange? And I think that there wants to be some currency, you know, and essentially, like, we are then creating a currency or some sort of token for different kinds of value. And then the you know, this is information. The final piece really, you know, is coordination. I think we can, you know, start to fill this out. And this is like, okay, we are, you know, we not only, you know, like as Newman said, you know, we're not only, you know, playing in the app, but we're also like building the app, you know. So we're not only like playing in the clubhouse, we're building the clubhouse. So these are you know, some projects, you know, that I put up there that I think we could use. There's ways that we can talk about, you know, okay, roles and circles and all of that, right? And there's you know, Nestor and other tools. There's, you know, Nestor, there's the Haifa platform. So I think I kind of just went off on a whole thing there. So Karel, I don't know if I answered, you know, if I went too broad here. But I want to just kind of open it up to you and other folks. And
No, that's great. That gave a little more solidified some things. But it looks like I can just go into that dot menu and pull it down to edit any of the, like, delete or add the skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can, you know, you can also, if it helps, you could share your screen with me, and you know, we could see you doing that. That might be
okay.
helpful. Yeah, I just gave you permission. Let me see. So what is it? Portal.hs. Wow.
How do I get in there again?
You can go. I put the link in the chat. Oh, maybe I'd have to do an 8.
Okay, got it.
So yeah.
HS Cooperative Notion. Do I go there or the portal?
You can go to either place. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an easy.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So I just go into the member portal.
Yeah, you just go into the member portal.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm.
And
is there like a login then? Or am I
well,
already...
you have to log into, yeah, you have to log into Notion. You know, and you and I, Karel, you and I can also meet, or we can stay after, you know, at 5, and I can kind of run you through it. And I think that's this, you know,
Sure.
some of the idea of the you know, 20-minute onboarding meeting is to, you know, help them make sure people.
No, that's fine. We can.
Yeah. So why don't we do that? So what do people, you know, what do people think as far as, you know, value exchange, right? So I think you know, there's kind of a couple like primary tools we're saying. One is the member portal on Notion. The second is Discord, you know, so, you know, so Zoe could, I think, you know, Discord, you know, I think it could be great to use, you know, to start giving shout outs like, hey, I could, you know, I could use this, or, hey, this is an offering I have, you know, as a more active place. I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe maybe it's, how would it be helpful, you know, to kind of proceed with this, you know, maybe sort of taking things like one at a time, saying, okay, we have one, you know, running through the process together. Yeah. And Dominic, you had a question?
I wanted to ask a question because I had actually emailed Basil separately, but then I was like, wait, I just want to ask here. okay, there's hypha, there's seeds. I'm trying to figure out what's like explicitly a part of this, and then like what's a part of like other operations, just to like to understand the tech stack, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
No,
Yeah, so the tech stack, yeah, so holistic systems cooperative, right, is no, that's the same thing. Holistic systems,
taking
right,
notes over here.
is that member portal.
Yeah.
Right, and then we're communicating on Discord. And then there's the Haifa DAO platform. So that's what this is. And these are all different DAOs that are starting up. So this is a platform to facilitate group coordination and this kind of value exchange, right? So holistic systems.
Is this made by anyone in this organization, or is this a different thing?
This is made by, right, and Basil can speak to this, but the short answer is this is made by Haifa, who are the same people really that are in that started Seeds,
So Seeds was the original vision, but to start that, they needed a decentralized organization that was truly decentralized. So they created Haifa with the original group. Joost, who is also part of that, his company is Nestor.io, which is in here. You probably saw Weave magazine in here. I think GaiaNet is already in here. HSC is part of the alpha. D Studio has been part of the prototyping, and then alpha. So Haifa is developing those layer 3 governance tools on top of Telos and EOS chains right now. Ultimately it'll be.
You just lost me so fast. That was funny.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you got.
I'm mostly with you. It's just like it's a lot of names, a lot of organizations, and a lot of like layers. And yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely, right, and it is, right, and then this is the Haifa platform. So how do we, right? It's a whole learning. It's a whole learning here, right?
Something I can contribute, something I can offer. I'm usually the person in companies and organization that organizes information to make it really accessible for anybody. Maybe that's something I can provide you guys, where like I can like kind of interview many people and just like break down what is it like, because I usually make it like accessible to anybody. That would be fun. I want to do that because I want to understand the whole thing.
Let's talk, and because I want
Amazing.
you on camera, I want you as like a
Amazing.
host. And so you can start to interview people at Haifa and at Seeds and and then we can start to finally get this information out, so that you can be the explorer. But then while you're doing that, we can also start to help break it down, for children and grandparents alike, all the way through, depending on, no matter what discipline we're coming from, because it's quite simple, yet it's just so much, it seems really complex. So we need to simplify for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a forest, right? You walk through a forest and it's so intuitive. It's so straightforward. But if you really want to get to know it, boy, there are a lot of stones to kick over. Or I don't know. There's a lot of leaves on the trees.
You have to sit in the forest for a while.
I mean,
Yeah.
one soil sample. Well, you could study the rest of your life. Like just.
Yeah. That would be amazing, right? Because I think that's part of the process, is is letting people know how to facilitate this, right? It's and Carell is asking that. Yeah, and right, and what do we use, right? And there is a tech stack, and so I think that to write that out and be as clear as possible, and have videos and right, it just is going to help so much. So yeah, let's talk about that. Well, how would we? I mean, do we want to try and do something like we were doing, last week, right? And we have Zoe gets hella confused. Yeah.
Are you Californian, or why did you say hella? That's not.
Yeah, I am.
I'm also Californian, so
She is
Hey.
California. Yeah, you nailed it.
Nice.
So, like we were talking last time about, with Biarawanga and his project. I don't know what feels, generative to folks. Does it feel generative to like say, okay, let's take one value share. Let's like get things started, right? Like I definitely have a couple of things that I need. There's some offerings. Yeah, who's interested? I can share a need. I could use a time management coach / accountability buddy.
I don't know what that entails really, but I could potentially get on board for that because my new schedule is a little scary and daunting for me.
Ah,
I don't know what accountability would be like. Hey, Rob, are you working? Or I don't know.
yeah. I actually know a good amount about time management, but I'm having a hard time like sticking to it, And I really need to like be deliberate now, especially now with like how much time I'm utilizing, for various projects. And so to keep, kind of boundaried.
dude, Rob. So I historically I've been an ace with personal time management, but I just feel like in the recent months I'm just like it doesn't feel helpful. Like there's so many projects and things going on that I'm like, oh, it's like makes more sense to just keep working at like what is appearing as like this needs. So I'm just mentioning, like I feel you. I usually would have considered myself an ace at time management. Right now, it's like I have these to-do lists and these tasks, and I'm like, dude, like the time management is not working. Like things are taking longer, and that's like, it's not a bad thing. It's like good. It's like today I had other things to do. Being in this meeting right now is really important. So I
Just a just in time approach, like not trying to pre-program and pre-plan every detail of your life and weeks and months and years, but sit at the direction and then just do things just in time, kind of.
Yeah, I think it happens in cycles too. There's also something about, classical physics and quantum physics. And it's like, I feel like this is kind of a quantum moment where it's like things are very like unstable and loose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm managing my time, now, right? And I'm pretty good at, I have been, right? Like historically, keeping track of it. But, I'm managing my time for the most part now is just like, working, all the time, other than when I have to like take care of like my, physical body needs, or somebody forces me to like go and socialize with them, And but that doesn't seem, that doesn't seem ideal. So, right. So this is interesting, right? Because I'm not saying we have one here, but there's a way where, and Corel was saying like, that she could help with this. There's a way where, my need could, engender, like a one-on-one, like a consult, right? So somebody could be coaching or consulting me and helping me with that. It could be, and yeah, Justin, I see your hand raised. Thank you. One moment. Or, that could be, oh, well, actually, like, I need help with that too. So like, then you're kind of like co-coaching or accountability buddies, right? That's like a lot of value in that. Or if everybody in the room types up and is like, oh, I have that problem too, then that could turn into like a skill share, which is something, right, that I was thinking about offering, it's like starting to offer on Fridays. Oh, actually, I would love to hear people's thoughts on timing, because a skill share could be like, oh, okay, well now, we've got like, 4 or 5 people that are interested in this. So let's bring everybody together, and each of us can like kind of present our knowledge, or one person, whoever's the expert, in that. So I think starting to have those skill shares could be, great as well. But I like that example because that value, you know, just that one need, right? It could, there's different types of value that, you know, that, and different ways for people to contribute and participate. Yeah. Justin, please.
Yeah, I said I put my hand up and down because I had like a series of thoughts. And I was trying to decide what was best to put there. But maybe on the last bit you just said there, Rob, I wanted to introduce the concept of like you asked about different structures that can be supportive, and as you're describing what you're describing, I thought about the power of a like in Haifa or in kind of other organizations. A circle is like a very particular kind of form, but I think in a really simple way, a circle is like a really basic, one of the most basic archetypal forms that has a center, so it's some kind of common interest that brings people together, and it has an inside and outside, so it's a boundary. So if you have something that's centering and you have a boundary around that, say it could be a call, it could be you can use circles to create spaces that have a common center that allow for kind of collaboration and communication to happen around certain subjects. And so I wanted to kind of that could be redefining what a circle is, but also kind of offering that as a particular form that could support what you were just describing was kind of there for me. And also I kind of wanted to I also had the idea that as you were speaking, there's a in the ULab in the Theory U or ULab programs based at MIT, it's like a institute called the Presidency Institute. They have a tool called a case clinic, and we're integrating the case clinics into the huddle. But what it does is allows one person to bring their leadership challenge before a group of like 4 or 5 people. It can be more, but 4 or 5 is good. And they're able to kind of receive this coaching from the group. So they have about 15 minutes to present their case, but pretty much like a set of prompts around the unique leadership challenge they're facing at the time. And instead of having the coaches just kind of give like feedback, they're actually it's more of a sensing exercise where the coaches are not here to solve the problem, but actually here to sense into themselves and begin to communicate from what is arising in them and what they're noticing arising from the whole. And through like a case clinic that lasts like 60 to 75 minutes, you're actually able to get like a really holistic view on a concept or challenge that one individual is facing, but you're also able to hear from the whole, all the different ways in which that is alive between them. And oftentimes the solutions are really, what comes out is very rich. A lot of mirroring, a lot of recognition, a lot of deeper understanding of what the core problem is, but also a lot of kind of like possibilities and directions to go into. And so, what I notice with you, Rob, is like, I know HSC is for all, but also it is of you as like a facilitator and a founder of the organization, or a facilitator founder. And with that comes like a really interesting dynamic between listening and following and leading and guiding. And I can tell like this really interesting interplay of what does it look like to do that in a decentralized organization in this distributed environment. And one thing that could be a way to lead is to kind of, maybe if you wanted to do a case clinic where you bring one of your leadership problems to the forefront, I'd be happy to help maybe facilitate that on a future call. And you could lead by sharing what it's like to be the leader in the space you are, and allow for us in the community to be able to give you perspective and feedback and practice and play together in a way that maybe supports the whole. And those are some things that were kind of rising in me.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that would be amazing. Right. That's a very cool thought, to be able to share what it's like, to say, and acknowledge that. And thank you, Justin, okay, what is it like to be a leader in this space, and then receive feedback on that. Yeah, it feels really powerful. And there's a way that there's something similar to that, like what I was thinking for a first skill share, what was coming through was something is pretty practical, right? But like a skill share called getting clients, right? And this practical. And I was going to say, okay, I'm going to put on this skill share called getting clients. Do I have a bunch of ideas for how to do that, some of them which are probably good. Yes. Am I an expert at getting clients? I wouldn't say I am. So the idea in my mind was like, okay, well, this is, it's like a group, a group skill share, right? So I'm going to say, I can facilitate it, right? And say, oh, hey, okay, like these are, some ideas that we have, but really it's like, now you're like, everybody's sharing, everybody's presenting, and in that group sort of like mesh, I think there's going to be, a lot more, help for folks, or a lot more, nuggets of wisdom and expertise to take in, rather than if I was just trying to like present for an hour. So that I'm saying that, because it sounds, yeah, it sounds not the same, but in the same vein as like the case clinic. If that, yeah.
Justin, I just want to say that the model you were talking about with the circles, I think that could also be a really interesting model for finding synergy in the New World movement. How do you bring those overlapping things together? Could be a really nice way to map that. I'll bookmark that, put a pin in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah, thank you, Justin, for both of those thoughts. So I do want to, I want to name, right, it's 4:50, so there's 10 minutes left in our official time. This meeting has been great. Like, I really appreciate everybody coming in, and everybody's input and the energy, and it's just it's been awesome. And I feel like there's energy here that can propel us forward. So there's a couple of things, like in this last 10 minutes, that right there's like, want to give folks an opportunity to, if there's any thing that they want to share on checking out. I also want to bring in, are there any action items? I want to check in on are people interested in the Skillshare? It's Friday a good day? And then also want to hear from Biarawanga, and maybe, I don't know, yeah, maybe we start there, because I want to make sure that Biarawanga, your voice is in on this meeting as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rob. I've been quiet today because I came down with the flu, so my voice is not quite clear. I'm audible enough, but I've been enjoying the conversation, and everyone's input was really amazing. I would like to thank Dominic for his great inputs, and I've been following a lot what he has been saying, and I relate. He reminded me the reason why, like, I even co-founded our initiative. It just gets and then it clicks together. Like, these are the kind of visions where we want to create like a global we know that the world is becoming smaller. At the end of it all, is going to become a global village, but we need to like incorporate technology and other resources in our daily lives. So how do we do that? So as a person who is working around nature-based solutions and working with agriculture, permaculture, so how do we incorporate all these kind of activities? And also as a person who is a salesperson, how do we incorporate all these skills? And how do we make HSC like really like, how do we get it from the grassroots? And then how do we get it like tangible? How do we get like value immediately to our communities, and how do we engage our communities to understand this kind of thing and also pull them on board? So this is really an interesting space for me to be in, and it's really relish this opportunity. Thanks a lot, Rob, for creating such a space. I haven't like filled out most of my details in the member portal, but I'm going to get time and do that. I'm just having some challenges with my laptop, which is still in the workshop and so something like that. So I need to get it fixed. So thanks a lot, Rob. But I have so much to contribute, but my voice is not allowing me to. I hope I'll get better and then I'll be sharing more in the next meetings. But for the issue of Friday Skillshare, yeah, I don't know what time you're recommending, but I think it's a great initiative and I'd love to be a part of it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Biarawanga. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry that that you're feeling bad, and like as Zoe and Karel said, yeah, I hope you feel better really soon. But thanks for still being here. And and also last week we were running through Biarawanga and his his organization and a couple of projects there, specifically again as an example of ways that we could start to facilitate some value share. Biarawanga and I have been in touch about that during the week. So that's another great sort of living example that we can work with. Okay, so I know, so let me ask this. So for Friday, so first of all, do people like the idea of having a skill share, like a regular skill share day? And then it can happen or not, and people can sort of sign up to facilitate it. Yeah, so what, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's a thumbs up, but it might be easier to answer the question after experiencing a Skillshare too.
Yeah. And what I love about this, like the Skillshare idea as well is that it doesn't have to be, like if I know somebody and they're a super expert in whatever, in business development, I can say, hey, can you come to Holistic Systems and do a Skillshare for folks? So it doesn't necessarily always, have to be, just the folks who are here. And what about like Friday? I mean, these things we can try and they can evolve. We can see what works. I don't know. I had a thought like Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, but
That
okay.
would be my Friday evening, either 5 or 6 o'clock, depending on daylight savings. So there is a chance that I might have gone crazy during the week, and it's like, dinner time on a Friday, and I'm like, I'm not gonna sit in front of this computer anymore. So there is that possibility.
Yeah. So maybe it could be earlier, in the day on Friday. It could be another day. I know there's never going to be a perfect day, but what's that?
I'll try to make it for sure. I just hope I don't go crazy and just slam the computer shut. And
Go crazy. Slam it shut. Go for it. Yeah.
In Zoom, how do I raise my hand? I usually use Google Meet. What is
you can if you go to reactions, there's on the bottom there's a button that says raise hand. Yeah,
I just want to mention, like, being so fresh, like I'll probably, like, for now, I think my next move is just join another one of these common meetings and like keep feeling what it's like here. And it would be amazing, like, I don't know if you have a calendar or like, I don't know if there's like a link you can send me for like how to get integrated, but I'm definitely more than pleased to be here and would love to continue this. But I think too soon to like sign up for stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sort of an informal poll,
For sure.
because if everybody was like Friday's terrible, it's the worst, then I start to think about something else. No, but thank you. No, it's great to have you here. And Dominic, yeah, can you just put your email in the chat? And then I just, I know that I have a way to get a hold of you. Yeah, I mean, I would say as far as action steps on everything, maybe the first, like the action steps really are, is making sure everybody's, in the member portal. If you want to take the action step of, adding in some needs and offerings, and then the third thing is getting in the Discord group. So, joining the Discord group, because that's a way where we can kind of be communicating things, right? Like in Discord, I can have an idea and I can say, hey, I want to have Skillshare Fridays. Is anybody, interested? And so
Hey, so you sent me that, right? You sent me the Discord.
I sent you the D Studio, which is operational
Okay.
like studio work. HSC. I can send that to you as well, or Rob can. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't have the Discord thing.
Okay, yeah, and it's in the you can find the Discord, the invitation to join in a few places in the member portal. There's one thing called communication, I think, in the collaboration bin. Corel,
Okay.
if you want to stay on after this, we can talk about the member portal a little bit if you have a moment.
I actually have to go, but I did find where I could make the changes and stuff.
Great. And I'm here to
Perfect.
help you, Corel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Natalie can.
Yeah, right. And it's just a way to facilitate what we're trying to facilitate here. That's all this member portal. That's what it is. It's one, option and one way. It's not, the way, but it's one way to take, like the amazing, immense, energy here and the vibrational energy, Dominic's talking about, and the intention to say, okay, let's, how can we do this?
I think
Yes,
it's a
let's
good
try.
place to start with the member portal because, yeah, it's just a good beginning point. I was going to ask about what the beginning point is, and that's a really good place. Feels right.
Yes. And if I could encourage people, when you're putting in needs and offers, this is like an experiment phase. So feel free to have fun with it, right? Just put something in there. You never know what other people actually need.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to judge, like, oh, I'm not going to put that because no one's ever going to fill in the blank. But have fun with it. Let it be more of an experiment than, oh, this is like super official. So yeah, his fish pillow. Who knew?
Who
But
knew?
he
I got
found
my fish
someone.
pillow fixed because it was on the member portal. That happened. I was like, that can't happen, but I really, really need help with my fish pillow. And look how it's just like, it's a pillow again. This poor fish pillow was like destroyed.
What happened?
Magic
Okay,
happened.
that's a good example.
Yeah, it's a good example.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you never know when you put things out into the universe and you can, explore, magic can happen.
Absolutely. That's great.
Thanks. Yeah, well, thank you, everybody. I'm gonna just, I'm gonna hang here. If anybody, wants to, has a checkout. I mean, people can, of course, leave now. If anybody has a checkout, feel free to just pop it in here. And I want to just say again, thank you so much, everybody. Just pumped up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. I'm gonna head
Thank
out.
you. Super great.
Yeah, pumped. Woo.
I'm pumped. Yeah,
Bye,
thank you all
everybody.
so much.
Christmas. Well,
Amazing folks.
talk soon.
Yeah, blessings. Fish pillow. Oh, I'm still recording probably. I'm in post-meeting bliss.